The ice storms of Europa howled across the research station's reinforced dome, but Captain Rana Patel barely noticed the sound anymore. After 3 years stationed on Jupiter's frozen moon, the constant whine of wind had become white noise, drowned out by the gentle hum of scientific equipment and the occasional ping of deep-scanning sonar. "Captain, you need to see this." Dr. Thomas Rivera's voice crackled through the station's comm system, excitement bleeding through the static. "We found something in Sector 7, about 3 kilometers beneath the ice sheet." Rana made her way through the station's curved corridors, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. The research station, designated Omega-9, housed 50 of Earth's brightest minds, all dedicated to understanding the mysteries trapped beneath Europa's frozen surface. But in all their years of research, they'd never heard Thomas sound quite like this. The scanning lab was a cramped space dominated by holographic displays and monitoring equipment. Thomas stood before the main screen, his dark eyes fixed on a three-dimensional rendering of what looked like geometric patterns embedded in the ice. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" Rana asked, studying the strange formations. "At first, we thought it was just another crystal formation," Thomas explained, his hands dancing across the control panel. "But then we detected an energy signature. It's faint, but it's there. And it's artificial." Rana's breath caught in her throat. After decades of searching the solar system for signs of intelligent life, could the answer have been hiding here all along? "How old?" "That's the thing," Thomas said, pulling up another display. "The ice layer surrounding it dates back at least 100,000 years. But the energy signature? It's still active. And there's more." He tapped another command, and the display zoomed out to reveal a massive network of similar patterns, all interconnected beneath the ice. Before Rana could respond, the station's emergency alarm began to blare. Red warning lights bathed the lab in crimson as Lieutenant Grace Wong's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, to the command center immediately. We have multiple unidentified objects entering the solar system." The command center was chaos when Rana arrived. The main display showed a cascade of data as unknown vessels poured through what appeared to be a tear in space itself, just beyond Neptune's orbit. "Report," Rana barked, taking her position at the central console. "Initial count shows over 3,000 vessels," Grace reported, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "They're not responding to any known communication protocols. Their technology, it's like nothing we've ever seen." "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current velocity? 72 hours. Rana's mind raced. Earth's combined fleet numbered barely 500 ships, and most of those were retrofitted cargo vessels. Against an advanced alien armada of this size, they wouldn't stand a chance. "Captain," Thomas called out, his voice tight with urgency. "The energy signature beneath the ice, it's changing. The patterns are starting to pulse." As if in response to his words, the entire station shuddered. Deep beneath the ice, something ancient was stirring to life. The geometric patterns they discovered began to glow with an intense blue light that pierced through kilometers of ice, visible even from the station's observation deck. "My God," Grace whispered, staring at her readings. "Whatever's down there, it's generating more power than every fusion reactor on Earth combined." The ice around the patterns began to crack and shift, sending tremors through the station. Emergency stabilizers kicked in as massive chunks of Europa's surface began to break apart, revealing something that had been waiting for millennia to be found. They weren't just patterns. They were ships. Hundreds of them, their sleek black hulls absorbing the light from Jupiter as they rose from their icy tomb. Each vessel was easily twice the size of Earth's largest battlecruiser, their designs both elegant and intimidating. "Captain," Grace called out, her voice filled with awe. "We're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. It's in ancient Sanskrit." Rana gripped the edge of her console, her knuckles white. "Put it through." A voice filled the command center, speaking in perfect English despite its alien origin. "Guardians of humanity, awakened from our long slumber. The destructors have returned, as was foretold. We stand ready to fulfill our ancient promise. Thomas looked at his captain, his eyes wide. They're not invaders, he breathed. They're protectors. Left here by someone to defend us. As if to confirm his words, the black ships moved into formation around Europa, their systems humming to life after 100,000 years of waiting. In the distance, Jupiter's massive form provided a backdrop to humanity's first glimpse of their true heritage, and perhaps their only hope against the approaching storm. Reyna squared her shoulders, knowing that every decision she made in the next 72 hours would help determine the fate of her species. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Tell them we found something. Tell them we have a chance. Dr. Marcus Wong's hands trembled as he studied the holographic interface floating before him. After 36 hours of non-stop work in the European Space Defense Headquarters beneath the Alps, the ancient symbols were finally beginning to make sense. Not that understanding them made what they suggested any easier to believe. These ships, he muttered, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, they weren't just left here for us. They were built by us. General Olivia Blackwood, who had been pacing the length of the underground laboratory for the past hour, stopped mid-stride. Explain. Marcus gestured at the complex mathematical formulas surrounding them. The neural interface systems, the quantum propulsion designs, they're based on human brain patterns. Not alien ones. Someone, thousands of years ago, built these ships specifically for human pilots. That's impossible, Olivia countered, though her voice held a note of uncertainty. Human civilization wasn't capable of this kind of technology back then. Unless, Marcus said, pulling up another display showing DNA sequences, what we think we know about human history is wrong. These ships, they're not just weapons. They're a message from our ancestors. A warning. The lab's communications array suddenly crackled to life. General Blackwood, a voice called out urgently. The Void Collective's fleet has accelerated. New arrival estimate is 38 hours. Olivia's jaw tightened. Time to make a decision, Doctor. Can you activate these ships? Marcus studied the ancient activation sequences he'd spent the last day and a half decoding. Yes. But there's something you need to know. The neural interfaces, they're not like anything we use in our current fleet. They don't just connect to the pilot's mind, they merge with it. Completely. The psychological impact could be. We don't have a choice, Olivia cut him off. The Void Collective wiped out our outer colonies in hours. Earth's defenses won't last any longer. How many pilots do we need? The ships appear to operate in linked groups of 3. Based on the number we've discovered, we'll need at least 150 pilots. But they'll need to be. Marcus hesitated, choosing his words carefully, compatible. Compatible how? The neural patterns have to match specific criteria. The ships are looking for something in their pilots. Something that made our ancestors different. Special. Olivia tapped her comm unit. This is General Blackwood. I want every pilot in the Sol system with a compatibility rating of 90% or higher brought to the following coordinates immediately. Priority 1. As her orders were acknowledged, the mountain complex burst into activity. Through the reinforced windows of the lab, Marcus could see teams of technicians preparing the massive chamber where the first group of pilots would attempt to bond with the ancient vessels. The first candidate arrived within the hour. Lieutenant Raj Kumar stood before the neural interface pod, his dark eyes fixed on its glossy surface. "You're sure this will work?" he asked, glancing at Marcus. The interface was designed for human minds, Marcus explained, running final diagnostics. But it will change you. The merger, it's permanent. Raj nodded slowly. To save Earth? Worth it. He stepped into the pod without further hesitation. Marcus initiated the sequence, watching as the ancient systems came to life. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Raja's body went rigid, his eyes flying open as streams of data poured directly into his consciousness. Neural synchronization at 95%, Marcus announced, studying the readings. He's connecting to the ship's primary systems. Everything looks. A deep rumble shook the complex as, high above them, one of the black ships responded to its new pilot. Its systems, dormant for millennia, surged with power. Integration successful, Marcus breathed, hardly daring to believe it. The ship, it's accepting him. Over the next 24 hours, more pilots arrived. Some failed to connect, their minds unable to handle the massive influx of information. But more succeeded than Marcus had dared to hope. Each successful integration taught them more about the ship's capabilities, and about humanity's forgotten past. Through the pilots' shared experiences, they learned that the ships weren't just weapons platforms. They were archives, containing fragments of a civilization that had reached heights modern humanity had only dreamed of. A civilization that had faced the Void Collective before and understood the true nature of the threat they posed. They're not just here to destroy us, Raj reported during his first consciousness break, his eyes now holding an otherworldly gleam. They're here to feed. To consume. Every civilization they've encountered, every species they've wiped out, they absorbed their knowledge, their technology, their essence. And now they've come for us. As the last group of compatible pilots underwent integration, Marcus couldn't help but wonder about the price of their salvation. The neural mergers were changing the pilots, awakening something that had laid dormant in human DNA for millennia. Something their ancestors had engineered into their descendants, knowing this day would come. General Blackwood's voice came through the comm system, interrupting his thoughts. Dr. Wong, the Void Collective has breached Mars' orbit. Are your pilots ready? Marcus looked through the observation window at the rows of neural interface pods, each containing a human being who had volunteered to be forever changed in exchange for a chance to defend their world. The ancient ships hummed in synchronization with their new pilots, black holes gleaming with power that defied modern physics. They're ready, he replied, knowing that whatever happened next would rewrite human history, assuming they survived to record it. May whatever gods are watching protect us all. Fleet Commander Diana Torres stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, her newly bonded consciousness extending through the ancient vessel's systems like tendrils of thought. The neural merger had changed her perception of reality itself. She wasn't just controlling the ship, she had become the ship. All pilot vessel bonds stable, her second-in-command, Commander Nathan Drake, reported from his own merged state. Battle groups are forming according to the archived combat protocols. Through the ship's enhanced sensory systems, Diana could see the Void Collective's fleet approaching, a writhing mass of biomechanical horrors that seemed to devour the very light around them. Their vessels looked less like ships and more like oceanic predators, their hulls rippling with patterns that hurt the human eye to observe. They're attempting communication, Lieutenant Zara Patel announced, her consciousness interwoven with the ship's communications array. The signal pattern matches the archived warnings. They're demanding our surrender. Diana's merged consciousness connected with the other 49 ship commanders in her battle group. In an instant, they shared tactical data, strategic analysis, and a profound understanding of what was at stake. The neural network they now shared made traditional military hierarchy almost obsolete. They thought and acted as one. Show them our answer, Diana commanded, her voice resonating through both verbal and neural channels. The black ships moved in perfect synchronization, their formations taking shapes that seemed to fold through dimensions modern physics hadn't even discovered yet. Energy began to build within their hulls, drawing power from sources that defied conventional understanding. The Void Collective struck first. Beams of corrupted energy lashed out across space, seeking to infect and corrupt the ancient vessel's systems. But the ship's defenses had been designed by people who understood this enemy, who had faced them before and survived. Multiple hostile contacts, engaging primary defense grid, Nathan announced, his consciousness directing waves of counter-energy that neutralized the alien attacks. The archived combat data is accurate, their tactics haven't evolved. Diana felt a surge of pride as her fleet executed maneuvers that would have been impossible for unmerged crews. The black ships danced through space like shadows, their movements guided by both human intuition and ancient wisdom. For every attack the Void Collective launched, the defenders had a counter prepared millennia ago. But the enemy's advantage in numbers began to tell. A ship in Diana's 3rd Squadron took a direct hit, its pilot's scream echoing through both neural and verbal channels before falling silent. The loss rippled through the merged consciousness of the fleet, each pilot feeling it as if they had lost a part of themselves. "They're adapting," Zara warned, her merged consciousness analyzing the enemy's tactical shifts. The archived data warned about this, they learn from every engagement. "They're already developing countermeasures to our defensive patterns." Diana's mind raced through combat solutions, drawing on both her military training and the vast tactical database stored within her ship's systems. The archived memories showed her fragments of the last war, when humanity's ancestors had faced this same enemy. They had won then, but at a terrible cost. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega," she commanded, initiating a sequence that had been waiting in the ship's computers for 100,000 years. "Let's show them what these vessels were really built for." The black ships began to move in new patterns, their formations shifting into configurations that seemed to bend the fabric of space itself. Energy coursed between them, creating networks of power that defied modern science's understanding of physics. "Ma'am," Nathan's voice held a note of awe, "the ships are linking their consciousness matrices. All pilots report, something's happening. The neural merge is deepening." Diana felt it too, an expansion of awareness that went beyond even the initial bond with her ship. Suddenly she could feel not just her own vessel, but the entire fleet. Every pilot's consciousness joined together, creating a gestalt entity that was both human and something more. The Void Collective ships recoiled as if sensing the change. Their biomechanical vessels tried to retreat, but they had already committed too many forces to the attack. The linked consciousness of humanity's defenders struck back with weapons that had been designed to fight this specific enemy. Beams of pure thought energy lanced out from the black ships, their power amplified by the combined will of their human pilots. Where they struck, the Void Collective's biomechanical vessels began to dissolve, their corrupted essence purified by weapons forged from human consciousness itself. "By all the stars," Zara whispered, her voice filled with wonder, "the archives were right. These ships weren't just built for humans, they were built from humans. From what we could become." As the battle raged across the orbit of Mars, Diana began to understand the true legacy their ancestors had left them. The ships weren't just weapons, they were tools of transformation, designed to awaken something that had been sleeping in human DNA for millennia. The Void Collective launched another wave of attacks, but this time the defenders were ready. The merged consciousness of the human fleet reached out across space, ready to show their enemy why their ancestors had been feared enough to warrant this invasion after so many thousands of years. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was finally awakening to its true potential. Admiral Helena Rodriguez watched Earth's blue sphere through the quantum glass viewport of her flagship, remembering how close they had come to losing it all. The battle had raged for 3 days across the solar system, transforming the space between Mars and Earth into a graveyard of twisted metal and corrupted biomatter. "Final status report," she commanded, her consciousness still merged with both her ship and the collective network of surviving pilots. "Void Collective forces at 12% of original strength," Commander Nathan Drake responded, his neural signals pulsing through the fleet's shared consciousness. "They're falling back to Neptune's orbit, but their retreat patterns are irregular." Through the enhanced sensory systems of her vessel, Helena could see what he meant. The remaining enemy ships moved erratically, as if their biomechanical systems were suffering some kind of breakdown. The knowledge passed down through the ancient ship's archives had proven correct. The Void Collective had never faced an enemy that could turn their own consciousness-based weapons against them. "We've decoded more of the archived data," Dr. Marcus Wong's voice came through the neural network. The scientist had undergone the merger procedure himself when they discovered that understanding the ship's full capabilities required a merged consciousness. What we're seeing, it's beyond anything we imagined. Our ancestors didn't just build these ships, they encoded their entire civilization's knowledge into them. Everything they were, everything they knew about what humanity could become. A sudden surge of energy from the remaining Void Collective ships caught everyone's attention. Their biomechanical vessels began to pulse with a sickly light, their forms twisting into impossible geometries. "They're attempting to open a dimensional rift," Zara Patel announced, her consciousness processing the sensor data. Energy signatures matched the archived records of their arrival pattern from the last war. Helena's merged mind reached out to all surviving pilots, sharing tactical data and battle plans at the speed of thought. They had lost nearly a third of their fleet in the battle, each death felt like a phantom limb through their shared consciousness. But the survivors had grown stronger, learning to use abilities that had laid dormant in human DNA for millennia. "They're not retreating," Helena realized, analyzing the enemy's movement patterns. "They're calling for reinforcements." The space behind Neptune's orbit began to tear, reality itself splitting open to reveal the swirling chaos of whatever dimension the Void Collective called home. Through the rift, they could sense more biomechanical horrors preparing to pour through. "All ships, execute final protocol," Helena commanded, initiating a sequence that had been waiting in the ship's computers since they were built. "Our ancestors left us these ships not just to fight the Void Collective, but to end them." The black ships began to move in perfect synchronization, their formations creating geometric patterns that seemed to mirror the very structure of consciousness itself. Energy began to build between them, not just drawing power from their advanced engines, but from the combined will of their human pilots. "Neural synchronization at maximum," Marcus reported, his voice filled with awe. "The ships, they're transforming. Adapting to match our evolved consciousness patterns." The ancient vessels' hulls began to shift, their material responding to the deepened bond with their human pilots. What had started as a merger of mind and machine was becoming something more, a true synthesis of human consciousness and advanced technology. "They built these ships to evolve with us," Diana Torres realized, her consciousness expanding through the network. "Each battle, each challenge was meant to push us further, to awaken what we could really become." The Void Collective's reinforcements began to pour through the rift, but they emerged into a solar system very different from the one they had expected to find. The defended humanity was no longer just fighting with borrowed technology, they had become something their ancestors had engineered them to be, waiting for the moment when they would need to take this final step. Helena felt the combined consciousness of every pilot, every survivor, focused through their transformed vessels. The power they now wielded wasn't just technological, it was the full expression of human potential, awakened by necessity and guided by the wisdom of their ancestors. "For Earth," she commanded, "for all humanity, past, present, and future." The black ships released their energy as one, not attacking the Void Collective's vessels directly, but rather the fabric of spacetime around them. The rift began to collapse, its edges turning inward, pulling the enemy fleet back into their own dimension. But this time, the dimensional tear was different, engineered by human consciousness to seal permanently, trapping the Void Collective in their own realm. The last enemy ship vanished as the rift closed, leaving behind a transformed solar system and an equally transformed humanity. The neural network hummed with shared understanding, this wasn't just a victory, but a rebirth. "We need to tell Earth the full truth," Marcus said, his merged consciousness processing the complete scope of what they had discovered. "About our past, about what we really are, about what we can become." Helena looked at her homeworld again, seeing it now not just with human eyes, but with the enhanced perception granted by their evolutionary leap. The ancient ships had served their purpose, not just as weapons, but as keys to unlock humanity's next stage of development. "We'll tell them everything," she agreed. "But first, we need to understand it ourselves. Our ancestors left us more than just ships, they left us a roadmap to our species' future. And we've only taken the first step. The black ships moved into formation around Earth, their transformed hulls gleaming with new purpose. The war was over, but humanity's journey was just beginning. They had faced extinction and emerged not just victorious, but evolved. The stars waited, and this time, they were ready to claim their place among them. In the depths of space, the ancient vessels pulsed with power, their systems now perfectly attuned to their human pilots. They had been built not just as defenders, but as guides, leading humanity back to the greatness they had once known, and beyond, to heights even their ancestors had only dreamed of reaching. The dawn of a new era had arrived, and its light would shine across the galaxy.